Welcome to Keith Knight Don't Tread on Anyone and the Libertarian Institute. Here is Thomas Sowell's challenge to feminists. Radical feminists seem to assume that men are hostile to women, but what would they say to the fact that most of the women on the Titanic were saved and most of the men perished due to rules written by men and enforced by men on the sinking ship? Could you imagine if society had a general motto that you should never hit a white person? You would obviously see that as totally bigoted and explicitly racist. Any society that says you should never hit a woman, it's not a great indicator that they are actively sexist against women. Anytime there's an emergency and people say women and children first, well, that discriminates. Any society where men only have been conscripted into military service to get their limbs blown off and to get killed by the literal millions is not a society where the primary issue is sexism against women. Soul goes on to address the gender pay gap myth. The most important reason why women earn less than men is not that they are paid less for doing the very same work, but that they are distributed differently among jobs and have fewer hours and less continuity in the labor force. Among college educated, never married individuals with no children who worked full time and were from 40 to 64 years old, that is, beyond childbearing years. Men averaged $40,000 a year in income, while women averaged 47,000. Also, you would never expect people doing the same work to get paid equally. If both LeBron James and I play basketball for 1 hour, you would not expect him and I to be compensated the same. If both Chris Rock and I get up on stage and talk for an hour, you would not expect us to be compensated equally. If both Mila Kunis and I started an OnlyFans separately, would you expect her and I to have equal incomes? No, of course not. If both Meryl Streep and I decided to be actors in a movie that was 2 hours long and we had the same number of lines and it took the same exact amount of time for us to read the lines and develop the character, would you expect us to get paid the same? What if I did 50 movies and she did one? You would still expect her to get more because we create different levels of value. Here is Dr. Michael Humer from the University of Boulder, Colorado, in his book Progressive Myths on the Disparity Between the Genders. Consider another, even more shocking disproportion. Males make up only 50% of the population, but 95.5% of police shooting victims. Men are thus 21 times more likely to be shot by police than women. One could claim that this indicates an extraordinary degree of sexism, many times worse than the racism shown by police departments. It turns out men have roughly 15, 17 times as much testosterone as women and are more violent than women. That explains the disparity. Their drive to attract the opposite sex comes from them wanting to earn more money and attracting with their resources and personality, whereas women tend to attract with their looks. There's nothing sexist or nefarious or terrible about this disparity. Humor says in a later section of the book, it is common to lament how most of the jobs with the highest income status and power, jobs such as CEO or US Senator, are male dominated. We attend less often to society's worst jobs, but nearly all of the worst and most dangerous jobs in America, garbage collector, roofer, construction worker, and so on, are also overwhelmingly male dominated. For example, the most dangerous legal job in America, lumberjack, is about 95% staffed by men. As a result of this pattern, men suffer over 90% of all workplace deaths in America each year. This is not an indication of patriarchy. It is an indication that men are, on average, willing to do more for money than women are. Michael Humer summarizes the research of Warren Farrell in his book, Why Men Earn More. He is a political scientist. Farrell identifies 25 things that tend to get an employee more pay, though some of these are redundant. According to Farrell, one can be expected to be paid more money for 1. Working in technology or the hard sciences rather than arts or social sciences. working in a dangerous field such as the military, being exposed to weather rather than working indoors, taking a job from which you can't psychologically check out at the end of the day, taking a less fulfilling job, taking higher financial and emotional risks, working undesirable hours, working in unpleasant environments or with little human contact, updating your skills for the latest market needs, choosing the most lucrative subfield within your field, working longer hours, having more years of experience in your current occupation, having more years of recent uninterrupted experience with your current employer, working more weeks of the year, being less absent, often from work, commuting farther, relocating at the company's behest, traveling extensively for the job, taking on different responsibilities from others with your job title, taking on bigger responsibilities from others with your job title, accepting less security, having more training in your current occupation, starting with higher career goals, doing more in depth job searches, and being more productive. So, the feminist conspiracy theory does not explain white male, the straight white male pay gap. Some straight white men are homeless, some straight white men are millionaires. Warren Farrell's research explains why some people get paid more than others. Then you see immediately why Asians earn more than whites on average, why Nigerian immigrants earn more than whites on average, why older people tend to earn more money than younger people on average. The concept of there being a patriarchy is so shallow, it just takes an arbitrary characteristic of a ruling class. Doesn't say if the ruling that they're doing is beneficial, if the ruling is too costly, if it's morally justified, if it's inherently immoral. It just says there are men disproportionately there and women are 90% of preschool teachers. That doesn't tell us anything about why they're attracted to the job or the benefits people are reaping from their employment. It is literally like saying, we live in a Jewarchy where Jewish people have a disproportionate amount of high positions and influence within society. And what they end up doing is making laws and crafting them in such a way that benefit themselves at the expense of the masses. So we really need to watch out for the Jewarchy. That is how ridiculous the concept of patriarchy is. Thank you for watching Keith Knight Don't Tread on Anyone and the Libertarian Institute.